Hello and welcome back. You have joined the University of Liverpool Online Open Day, and this is our final session with faculty. So we're delighted that you have stayed around to talk to Dr. Alina Perez, who we're very excited to meet later. First, I'm going to go through the schedule of what we've covered today. You'll see. Basically, we've spoken to Professor Claire Pickles, Christian Burwood, Dr. Lisa Day. We've spoken to Laureate Online support staff and Professor Nikolai Dobrev, Dr. Peter Alston, and we're about to join the Psychology Master's Degrees for Non-Psychologists session. So I'm really looking forward to that. We're just waiting now for Alina Perez. There she is. Hello, Alina.
Hi.
Great to have you.
Happy to be here.
So, Alina, you are coming live from the US.
I am coming all the way from Miami, Florida.
Nice. We can see you're catching the sun rays.
Oh, yeah. Typical.
Great. Okay, well, very welcome everybody to Psychology Master's Degrees for Non-Psychologists. This is an extremely popular set of programs, and we're delighted to welcome Alina, who has been involved in their development. And we're looking forward to looking at each one in greater detail. Firstly, Alina, perhaps you'd like to tell us a little bit about yourself. You're the program director for not only the psychology programs, but also public health. And you have an extensive background in psychology. Please elaborate. We'd be delighted to hear more.
Sure. So I've been with the University of Liverpool since 2011, and I started actually as a faculty member teaching in the program, and from there went on to faculty manager, which basically is the academic support for the faculty. And I have been the program director for psychology now since 2013, and that encompasses all the psychology programs. I also picked up public health, the master's in public health as well, along the way. So I'm also the program director for that program. I am a clinical forensic psychologist by trade. So I have a PhD in clinical psychology and a master's degree in forensic psychology from the United States. I did attend a hybrid university myself for my doctoral program, which means I had some ground campus-based work in addition to remote online work. My master's degree was a traditional campus-based master's degree, but the bulk of my experience, my clinical experience, has actually been in forensic psychology. But I also have experience with research and clinical psychology as well. That's my academic side. So those are my hats here at the University of Liverpool. So it's really exciting to be here. Great set of programs.
Brilliant. So let's talk about the topics that we're going to cover today. We're going to talk about the School of Psychology in general, and we're also going to look at our online psychology programs in greater depth. We're going to talk about what it's like to study psychology 100% online, as that's the learning model that the University of Liverpool offer, and we're going to talk about what asynchronous learning is. And we're also going to have a chat about career opportunities, because of course, not everybody wants to become a psychologist. And it's very interesting to see how people apply the psychology programs and their learning to their current professions, or maybe they want to change professions or set up their own business or consultancy practice. I'm really looking forward, Alina, to hearing more from you about that. And we will also be taking questions from the floor. So if you have any questions about any of the topics that Alina covers or any of our programs, please don't hesitate to write your questions into the questions box, and our support team at the back end will work their way through them and get back to you. And we'll also hopefully have time at the end, although there's a lot to cover, to field some of your questions too and put them straight to Alina. So without further ado, we should move on to the University of Liverpool School of Psychology. Did you know that its origins its origins to Nobel laureate Sir Charles Sherrington, who was professor of physiology from 1895 to 1913. So as with the University of Liverpool, it has a long heritage, doesn't it, Alina?
It does, yes, it does.
Yeah, and in terms of online learning, it also prides itself on being one of the first universities to offer postgraduate online learning to students in the world. Is that correct?
That's correct. We have students from all across the world as well as faculty.
Yeah. So access to postgraduate online learning, quality QAA accredited programs is one of the things at the heart of what the University of Liverpool offer. In terms of the psychology programs in particular, perhaps Alina, you'd like to talk us through what online programs are on offer there.
So we have 3 MSc programs in psychology at this moment. The first is the MSc in psychology, which is BPS accredited. It's a conversion program. We have the MSc in mental health psychology and the MSc in organizational and business psychology. Each of those shares a common core in terms of the modules that you will take in the first half of the program, and then the latter half of the program they go into the specifics of that degree. So there's different modules pertaining to each program.
Okay, great. And thinking about psychology in general, does it differ from program to program, the profile, or is there a typical online psychology student in terms of where they are in their career, their age, gender?
We really see a wide array of students. I would definitely say the majority of our students are working adults that have other responsibilities such as family, work, careers. And so this type of program really attracts them because they can sort of fit it around their life responsibilities. And so, we do understand that students have families, students have other things that they need to take care of. And so the bulk of our students are working professionals or working adults. Some students are looking to advance in their careers, so they might be in a particular profession that they do not plan on changing, but they want to enhance their career with an additional postgraduate degree. Other students are looking to go into a different area of profession, and so they would like a more specialized master's degree. And so really it depends on the student. It's quite individual to each, but we do see a wide array of application with our degrees and a wide array of the profile of student that completes our degrees.
Mm-hmm. And as we'll see, that there's a very interesting quote from one of our graduates, Sam Smith, who is an engineer and pilot and took one of our online psychology degrees, and it was of great benefit to him and his career. So it's really interesting how people generally apply to psychology to a whole range and a wide variety of different industry sectors. So let's talk about the MSc in psychology. Alina, could you talk us through the core modules and specialization modules, and maybe we'll talk a little bit also about the dissertation?
Sure. So as I said earlier, the core modules are common to the 3 programs. And so all students, regardless of the MSc program that you choose to enroll in, will take the first 4 seen here at the top. So mind, brain, and behavior is the intake module. So that's the first module students will take, and it is 12 weeks long. It is longer than all of the other modules, which will be 8 weeks. And this is because it's the introductory module. And so there's a lot of the foundation of psychology and the background introduced in this particular particular module. And so if a student comes in with no experience in psychology, this module helps to sort of get them up to speed on what they need to know in terms of a foundation. The second module is social psychology, and that's really about human behavior in a social setting and in group settings. It also will introduce students into qualitative research methods, so very basic qualitative research, and that is key throughout all our modules. There is some type of methodology infused, and so it might be some qualitative methodology, or as you will see in the third module, data analysis, that is our quantitative methodology module, focusing on stats. This is, the MSCs are research-focused degrees, and so we make sure that students get enough of the knowledge that they need to develop their skills as well in research methodology, which, as you will see further on in dissertation, it's going to be a key component in order to complete the dissertation successfully. The fourth module is personality and individual differences. That module as well introduces students to key theories of personality and psychology. And it infuses as well quantitative research methodology. Once we get into
search turned something up for his personality and psychology.
Sorry, my iPhone's going nuts. Siri, sorry about that. Okay, and so once we get past the first four modules, we go into the specialization modules. So these will be specific to the MSc in psychology degree. And so the first one is cross-cultural issues in lifespan development. And that's really about developmental psychology. So students will learn more about the developmental theories of psychology, understanding human development, as well as being able to implement more sophisticated qualitative methodology. The next one is the psychology of learning. That's basic learning theory in psychology. So understanding how humans learn behavior, basically, and how to shape behavior and modify behavior. That one as well is actually quite interesting because this one has students engaging in an online experiment. So students get to participate and understand and gain firsthand experience into what experimental research looks like. And so they get to participate in an online experiment and then go ahead and analyze data, create a scientific report based off of the data generated through that experiment. So that's actually a really fun module. Then the last two are more advanced, and this is cognitive psychology and psychobiology. Both of those as well infuse some type of methodology at the end of the module, but they will introduce students to, again, the basic theories of cognitive psychology. So, how thinking and emotion and behavior all sort of correspond to each other. And the last one, psychobiology, the physiological basis of behavior, basically. So those two are actually quite interesting in that one of them has students engaging in case study and the other one in a systematic review. So you get a really wide range of exposure to different skills that psychologists or individuals in psychology will use, research in psychology, a good understanding of the types of methodologies used, and a very strong understanding of the basis and the foundation theoretics of principles of psychology in a wide array of areas.
Excellent. I'm inspired. Sign me up. So in terms of, we should really speak about the BPS accreditation because it relates to the MSc in psychology in particular. Perhaps, now the BPS accreditation does relate specifically to the UK. So it might not be relevant to those outside the UK, but it's still important to mention, Alina, isn't it?
Yes, it is. BPS accreditation is quite important as this basically accredits our MSc in psychology as a conversion program. And what that means is that students that do not have a psychology degree, they can come to the university, get a postgraduate accredited degree, and then be eligible to apply to a accredited doctoral program in order for the track to become a chartered psychologist in the UK.
Mm-hmm. And I know that the title of this session is the Psychology Master's Degrees for Non-Psychologists, but I'm going to sidestep that and say, what if I did want to become a psychologist and I needed to study a BPS accredited psychology program? What is my route then to chartership?
So again, basically you will need a BSc with a particular grade equivalent. If you do not have that and the BSc is not in psychology, then you can do a conversion program like ours. So that will make you eligible to for admission into a doctoral program. Now the doctoral program will need to be accredited as well. And once completed, that will make students eligible for chartership, which means you're a clinical psychologist or you're a psychologist.
Okay. And is it true that if you study the MSc in psychology with the University of Liverpool online, and then you follow that up with a specialist master's, that also allows you to gain status as a chartered psychologist?
Well, you will need a bachelor's degree, so some type of BSc with the specific grade equivalent. If you don't have that, then you will need to go back and get that. So for instance, if a student comes in with an MSc in human resources but does not have a bachelor's degree, then they're not eligible. So you will need a BSc.
Okay.
In some degree.
Okay. So please, if you have any questions about BPS accreditation, please don't hesitate to put them in the questions box, and we will get back to you with specific answers that will discuss your own situation. So moving on to the MSc in mental health psychology. Alina, tell us more.
So as we can see here, the first 4 modules are the same as the MSc in psychology. Students will be mixed together with students from all programs in psychology for the first 4. So you won't just study with students in the MSc mental health psychology program. You may be studying with students in the MSc psychology or the MSc in organizational and business psychology, which we'll look at next, I assume. So I'll skip down to the specialization modules. These are specific to mental health psychology. And these 4 modules really focus, I mean, you can tell by their names. So we've got approaches to mental health, psychotherapeutic interventions, psychological appraisal and treatment, and cognitive behavioral therapy. Very focused on the practice of psychology. And so individuals really interested in psychological interventions and how to apply those and the theories that underlie psychological therapy, really this is a good degree for that.
Okay, great. And the MSc in organizational and business psychology. Now this is a fascinating subject, and I'm sure that this really applies to all businesses and organizations, and I am dying to hear in what ways.
So again, first 4 modules core to the other degrees. So if we look at the specialization modules, we have evidence-based coaching, psychology of leadership, global talent management, and organizational development and change. So they're very much focused on organizational culture, workforce, job satisfaction, employment, so very much into the business world and how psychology applies in that setting and in that environment. And so the first module is actually real interesting. It has students engaging in coaching, which is a particular skill in this area, in this field of psychology. And so students will have practical exercises in how to coach, and we'll do that with a peer and really be able to develop their skills and understand what coaching looks like in an organizational setting and how to use that as well in their practice. For leadership, this one's also quite interesting because, as the title of the module indicates, it's about the psychology of leadership. And so students will actually complete a profile on themselves on leadership traits and skills that they might have, and then be able to analyze that, reflect on it, and think about ways to address that within an organization. So that one's also had that practical exercise, which is actually quite interesting. Global talent management sounds like what it is. So basically how to increase employee satisfaction, deal with job retention, how to recruit talented employees, and how to maintain and keep those employees. And so that one as well has a lot of case studies involved in that particular module that students will engage in to get a better understanding of how to apply the theories that they're learning about within the module. Same with the last one. So that one's a more general a more general module that really looks at overall organizational theory and culture, and how that impacts the individuals within an organization. That one too focuses on the use of case studies as well to apply what students are learning within the module.
So in terms of the profile of the students that might, say, for example, enroll on the organizational and business psychology masters, are we looking at people with a human resource background, or does it span wider than that? Management?
Definitely wide. Definitely wide. We do have a lot of individuals within human resources, individuals just within business settings, corporate settings, organizational settings. And so it's really quite wide because the application of the degree is quite wide. It's really just understanding workplace psychology. And so you can, people from all types of professions and careers can actually use what's learned in this particular degree to advance their own current position or their own current knowledge, supplement what they already know or other degrees they might already have to gain new skills that they can be useful within the current working environment. Or as I said before, for instance, individuals in human resources for promotions and career advancement as well.
Okay, great. And in terms of the profile of mental health psychology students, do they need to have a background in mental health, or is this some kind of add-on, say, maybe for those in the education sector? Or
I would say both. The 4 specialist modules are very focused on, interventions in mental health psychology and the basic theories and foundational principles of those. And so individuals in education, we do see quite a bit of students already in that career that are looking to advance as well or gain a postgraduate degree in that area. People who are within the social services fields, that can be case management, social work, substance abuse interventions, mental health already, but perhaps at a bachelor's level. And it does give the student a more, focused knowledge and skill into therapeutic interventions in psychology and the theories underlining those.
And I suppose I'm going to ask an overarching question, as in, for somebody who isn't from a psychology background and doesn't necessarily want to become a psychologist, why would they study an MSc in psychology? What will it do for them?
The MSc in psychology really has a very wide general knowledge in psychology. And so even if you come in with no knowledge of psychology, let's say you were in a completely unrelated field, computing, for instance, completely unrelated, and you decided you wanted to come in and get more knowledge or gain more knowledge in psychology and have a postgraduate degree in that area, whether it be for career change or whether it be for advancement in your own career, really the degree or the program is set so that someone with no knowledge in psychology can gain the knowledge needed to sort of get up to speed and gain the necessary knowledge for basics with a postgraduate degree. And so you will come out of there understanding the key theories that underlie psychology in general. And so that's why you see things like development, social psychology, learning, cognitive psychology, physiological psychology. And so all of those are very basic areas of psychology that anyone with a postgraduate degree in psychology will need. And so even without the knowledge, the program is set up so that each module will step the student up to the knowledge that is needed, in a postgraduate degree. And so why would a student without a psychology background study these? Well, for one, the student wants to understand psychology and wants to learn about psychology, wants more information, wants more knowledge and skill. And as I stated earlier, either it would be beneficial to have a postgraduate degree for their own career advancement. And, psychology can be applied in a wide array of professions and areas. I mean, it's really the study of human behavior. And so if you think about, different areas of and professions that people work in, you're always going to deal with people, and you're understanding human behavior, how to shape that, how to understand where it's coming from is important in terms of dealing with others. And so again, even if somebody doesn't come from a psychology background, the degree is set up so that they will come out at the end understanding psychology in the way that they need to.
Mm-hmm. And Alina, how does the University of Liverpool keep their online programs relevant to today? Like, are the case studies that students will cover, are they topical? Is there discussion that, I suppose gets to grips with current problems that, for example, we see in the news, or I'm just fascinated by what can people expect to learn and how that's relevant?
Well, students will study, seminal pieces of work in psychology, which will be much older, obviously, than current events. But in the way that they apply that, we try to use, real world applications. So what's going on in the world now? A lot of that is through the discussions in the class, and I know we're going to get to that and to what the setup of the class is like. But basically, you engage in conversations, academic conversations with students and the faculty within the class as well, applying the knowledge from a particular week to a particular question that is relevant to what's going on in today's world. The case studies as well are current. They're not, from many, many years ago, but they're from, current issues that are happening now, current cases that we might have seen not too many years ago. And so I'll give an example, the BP oil spill that happened a few years back, which is a big issue. So we look at that in one of our organizational psychology modules, and understanding, organizational culture and how people within BP sort of dealt with that and the psychology of it. And so the modules are continuously reviewed as well. So as program director, I work with, as well with the director of studies and other faculty to make sure that the modules are kept relevant and up to date. And so we continuously review modules, we continuously revise if we need to, and change things, including learning resources as well, to make things more current and relevant.
Mm-hmm. And obviously our students get the opportunity to do a dissertation at the end of their program. What kind of topics have students in the past covered, for example, and how do people decide what they should do their dissertation on?
Oh, wow. So we've had, every possible topic you can imagine. Students basically choose the topic that is choose a topic that is relevant to their degree program, with obviously the MSc psychology being a bit more wider in range for topics that students tend to choose. Mental health and organizational psychology, you'll see topics within that particular subfield of psychology. And so, I've seen things from how communication style impacts academic learning, to how spousal abuse impacts mental health overall or well-being, life satisfaction, to leadership within an organization, and how different personalities will exhibit different types of leadership styles or traits. And so there's really a lot of variety, but essentially students really come up with a topic that is of interest to them. And so that's the first place to start, is just, what do you find interesting? What do you want to learn more about? And then once you sort of have that general idea as a student, then you go into the research and you see where it is that you can contribute. And so you find gaps in the literature and develop ideas that can sort of contribute to the literature on that particular topic. But there is a dissertation advisor that will help guide the students to refine the topic and the questions through the dissertation process.
And I'm presuming that the faculty are experts in their field. How is that assessed, and how do we know, for example, that they've gone through that rigor and assessment criteria that basically will ensure that they are at the head of their field?
Well, we have a very rigorous recruitment process. With quite rigorous training and requirements. And so, faculty are chosen based off of their degree. So all faculty hold PhDs in the relevant field. So in some field of psychology relevant to our programs. They must also be research active. And so all faculty engage in research and are actively engaged in research in their particular areas. And so we really recruit faculty that can contribute to our programs in the area of their expertise, that can also assist students in a wide array of different topics. And so, all faculty are approved and reviewed by the university, making sure that the standards of the university are being met. And there's a continuous review and monitoring process to make sure that faculty are continuing to adhere to those requirements while they are faculty at the University of Liverpool.
That's good to know. So, Alina, I'm going to give you a break for a minute or two and pass this over to our audience. Paolo, our producer, is going to run the poll. And the question for today is, what do you hope to gain from studying a psychology degree online with the University of Liverpool? So there's three options: a master's degree from a Russell Group university, an online program designed for working professionals, or the opportunity to join a global network. Now, the great thing, as Alina well knows, is that if you decide to study psychology with Liverpool Online, you will avail of all three, but maybe there's one in particular that you're most interested in. So cast your votes, and we'll see in a few minutes what our audience thinks. So, Alina, in the meantime, are there any particular skills that you think are most valuable that you can gain from studying psychology? I know that you mentioned earlier in the conversation that people learn how to research and how to analyze that data and publish their work if they want, or at least find out how to go about doing that.
That's correct. And so, there's a twofold purpose to our degrees, and with one being, as you mentioned, these are research-based degrees, and so students will gain quite a bit of knowledge and understanding on research methodologies specifically used in psychology and the study of psychology. And so students will learn both quantitative and qualitative methodology with the aim of using one of those in the dissertation. So that will be the culmination of their studies. And, in addition to having those research skills in psychology, as I mentioned before, students will also learn the practicalities, the theories, and the principles underlying each area of psychology that they choose to study in. Again, that can be widely applied in different professions and different careers, not just in a career change, if that's what the student's choosing to do.
Okay. So, Paolo, perhaps you would like to show us the results. So it's a unanimous result for an online program designed for working professionals. So that really tells us that most of our audience are indeed working professionals themselves, and indeed most of our students are. Everyone is aware that, and the programs are designed with that in mind, because we understand that people have family commitments, other personal commitments, and study, work, everything has to somehow fit together. But the thing is that the great thing about studying online is that there's a knock-on effect, and it's a positive effect when you can apply your skills that you learn online to your work, for example, and I'm sure that your children will benefit, for example, from your learning also. Okay, so we'll move on. So in terms of studying 100% online, for those that aren't aware of what asynchronous learning is and what the online classroom would look like, and maybe there might be some skeptics still around, although there's not many now, because online learning is just becoming the future, and this is what education is. So could you talk us through the support that's available, and also what resources we can hope to gain from?
Sure. So as we see here in this lovely figure, students really get to study with faculty and other peers from all over the world. So you will gain different perspectives on the same topic in psychology, and how perhaps, cultural differences impact the understanding of those topics. And so being able to have those types of conversations and hear and listen to the different perspectives that students and faculty have, and experiences as well, is important to the learning process. So that really happens within the classroom in that asynchronous discussion area. And I believe we have that somewhere here, but if not, I'll go ahead and just briefly highlight that. And so students will have in every module several assignments that require them to engage in discussion with their peers on a particular question for that week. That is done asynchronously. And so what that means is that students do not have to be in the classroom at a specific time on a specific day as you would on campus. And you can sort of organize your time so that you are in the classroom when is convenient for you. There are deadlines. And so we do give students, that upfront. So understanding that, okay, this particular discussion is due on this day, but you can complete that and have it done within a time frame that fits you, as long as it's submitted by that date. And so students will engage in those types of conversation in that assignment within the classroom, the discussions. Students also have particular learning resources in the modules, and so these can be ranging from texts to articles to different media pieces. Most of those, if the majority of those, are available in the online library for students for free. And so students can just, within the module, select the resource that they need, and it will come up on their screen. Other times there'll be instructions on how to obtain it from the online library. In a few cases, students will purchase textbooks at the beginning of a particular module, but in most cases, things are available within that module for the student. The online library as well is a wonderful resource for students. As a postgraduate degree, we really expect students to engage with the literature, refine their research skills, and develop academic arguments based on the research, not just opinion. And so the use of this vast online library from the University of Liverpool is a really good resource for students. So students don't have to go out to a local library, for instance, or go somewhere else and purchase access online. Everything is available to the student directly from within the classroom. The faculty as well are there to support the learning of the student. And so there are synchronous sessions that are offered for many of the modules. They are optional, because we do understand not everybody can attend and not everyone's in the same time zone and other commitments. But It is offered for students that would like to have a more real-time, face-to-face interaction with their instructor, want questions answered immediate and not in an asynchronous environment. And if students can't attend, those sessions are recorded and available to the students later on for their own viewing as well. Every week or every assignment that is completed, faculty will develop very personalized and individual feedback for students, aimed at helping the student understand where their strengths are and where their areas for development are and how to develop those areas. So that's quite important because it is how our faculty support student learning. And as I mentioned before, faculty are also in the discussions, proposing perspectives and different information on the topic of discussion for the week. And so really the faculty are there to help guide the student and help them develop the requisite knowledge and skill that they need in a particular module to meet the learning objectives. We also have student support. So I'm not sure if some of the other sessions might have discussed the role of student support, but really student support is a wonderful resource. It's there to help guide students throughout their program with different issues that they might be having, helping them understand different options to address different issues. So for instance, if a student is having an extenuating circumstance and they weren't able to meet specific deadlines within a module, how to apply for extenuating circumstances, or what other options do they have for that particular module. And so if there's an issue within the classroom with a faculty member as well, student support is there to help bridge the gap between the student, the faculty, as well as myself, the program director, and sort of help guide the student throughout what's available and the resources within the program. So that's also a great resource for students. Not sure if I'm missing something, Derwell.
I am sure we are missing lots, but that's a good thing. There's only so much time, and we can't fit everything in. So I would urge, if anyone has any questions, go to our website. There's a lot more information there, or ask a question, and our support team will try to get those answers back to you. Okay, so we don't have much time left. It flies when you're having fun, but we do have some questions, Alina, for you to test your knowledge. Rena would like to know how is this different from an MA in psychology? I'm sure she means how is the MSc in psychology different from an MA?
So the MSc in psychology is more focused on research versus the Master in Arts, which is the MA. So MSc stands for Master of Science in Psychology, and so it really does have more of a research focus.
Okay. And this is a very interesting question from Kate. Hi, I already have an MSc in Human Resources, more than 16 years experience in HR, a life coaching qualification, and run a life coaching business. Will that be enough for me to gain entry to doing an MSc in psychology, or would I need a BSc first?
A BSc is always required. And so regardless of what other postgraduate degrees or work experience the individual might have, the MSc in psychology program, in particular for BPS accreditation purposes, every student admitted needs a BSc.
Okay. From Nyasha, I hope I have pronounced your name right. I have no background in psychology. Would you recommend to do a bachelor's first before doing the master's degree?
Depends on what program they're looking to enroll in. If it was the MSc in psychology, as I just stated, a bachelor's degree is required for entry. One of the other two degrees, though, not necessarily. And as I stated, an individual doesn't have to come with a background in psychology, because the first 4 modules will help sort of get the student up to speed in psychology.
That's good to know. And how long does the course take from Leo?
Well, each module is 8 weeks long, except the first one, which is 12 weeks. So if you calculate, we have 8 modules total, and then the dissertation at the end is 9 months long, or 40 weeks. It can take somewhere around 2.5 years, 2 years, more or less, but it really depends on the student and how they progress, if they take any breaks, or if they withdraw at any point and then come back, or if there was any extenuating circumstances. But in general, 12 weeks for the first module, 8 weeks for the subsequent 7, plus 40 weeks for the dissertation.
Okay. And from Stephanie, can I do this course while working as a teaching assistant part-time?
Yes, most definitely. Our courses are designed for the working adult, so they're in the right place.
That's great. And yeah, so we would urge you, if you are thinking about studying psychology online, we would love to hear from you. Our enrollment advisors are fully versed in all the modules and the benefits and the career opportunities out there, with knowing what that qualification will do for you. So please get in touch, request information, and also have a chat with an enrollment advisor and find out. They'll be able to talk you through your own personal situation and talk you through what's the program that's most suited to your needs. And again, there's the website for more information. And on your screens now, you'll see dates for your diary, the next application deadline, and the next start date. So get your documents in order, complete your applications. And without further ado, Dr. Alina Perez, thank you so much for joining us. We have this session has been particularly inspiring and very informative, and we're delighted to have you at the Open Day.
Thank you so much, and thank you everyone for attending as well.